Googling. Hi, I'm Jackson Bird, and today we're gonna be doing some Googling. So earlier this year, BuzzFeed put up a video called Trans People Answer the Most Googled Questions About the Trans Experience. But here's the thing, they didn't answer the most Googled questions, that is. Instead, they answered some frequently asked questions about trans people that are really important for people to understand, and they put together like a really educational and diverse and heartwarming video, blah, blah, blah. You see, since BuzzFeed has spent years doing a more shallow version of my series, Will It Waffle, I thought I might as well do a more shallow version of their video, in which I answer the actually most Googled questions about trans people. Let's get started. Why do transformers hum? No, there we go, every single one of these says transgenders. Why do transgender have surgery? Transgender people, because transgender is not a noun or a plural noun, should not say transgender or transgenders. Transgender people, it's an adjective. But transgender people might have surgery or might not, depending on how they feel about their body and the situation they're at in life with regards to their medical history and their finances. But sometimes we might choose to have surgery so that our physical body can reflect more the way that we feel on the inside. And no, there is not just one surgery. There are tons of different kinds of surgeries, different types of top surgery depending on your identity and what you're doing with your body, different types of bottom surgery, things done to the shape of your face and your hair and your scalp and all kinds of surgeries. There are all kinds of surgeries. Why do transgenders like mermaids? Again, transgender people. And this is something I've heard a lot about. A lot of transgender kids, especially trans feminine kids, really like mermaids because mermaids don't have any bottom genitalia. I mean, that's not the reason that like a kid would tell you if you asked a child, but it's the leading theory about why a lot of trans kids tend to like mermaids. A lot of trans boys and men tend to like wolves. In fact, there was a guy at the gym the other day that I kind of thought maybe was trans. I would never go up to someone and say like, yo dude, you trans, because that would just make anyone feel bad to get clocked. But I was like, kind of looks like he might be trans. And then I saw he was wearing a wolf t-shirt and I was like, yup. Why do trans guys like wolves? Not sure. I think the werewolf thing, maybe, you know, the time of the month. That's at least one reason I think wolves resonate with me. Can't speak for all trans men. Why do transgenders think they are? We think that we are trans because we've done a lot of thinking about it and a lot of educating ourselves on what it means to be trans and what gender means. And so we're usually pretty sure that we are trans. Not always, but we're at least making the most informed decisions that are best for ourselves at that time. Let's move on to the next question. Why do transgender use they? Well, not all transgender people do, but some people prefer to use a gender-neutral pronoun. The most commonly used gender-neutral pronoun is they, them, theirs, as opposed to he, him, his, or she, her, hers. It's a pronoun that is often used by people who are agender or genderqueer or some type of gender non-conforming. And a lot of people think that it's kind of weird or foreign to them, or they don't know how to conjugate it, but it's actually pretty simple and you actually already use it. I'll link to some great videos on using they, them, theirs pronouns in the description box. How do transformers work? Nope. Ooh, how do trans men have sex? Great question. If anyone wants to tell me. No. How do transgender women have sex? It depends what they're working with, what their partner or partners are working with, and what their preferences are, and what their partner or partner's preferences are. And you know what? I appreciate that this is a commonly Googled answer, because that means that there are some people out there trying to do their research, and maybe a few less people just asking us what's in our pants all the time. How do transgenders work? Well, so this is a complicated question for me, because I'm kind of like a freelancer at this point, and so I have a pretty atypical schedule. So how I work and earn my paycheck is a little bit different than I would think other transgender people, but you know, really we're just like cis people, and we work the same way that cis people do in whatever kind of jobs we are fortunate enough to get. Well, that is one difference, is that in most US states we can still be fired just for being trans, so woo! How do transgenders feel? Aw, I'm feeling all right today. Here we go. How do transgender pee? How do transgenders urinate? How do transgender males urinate? How do transgenders feel about the bathroom issue? Oh my god, how do transgenders get wet? I don't want to think about why that's such a frequently asked question. Clearly, lots of people curious about how we pee. I'll tell you how it works. This is some secret trans knowledge on you, alright? So, basically, we've drank a lot of liquids, starting to feel some pressure. Usually what I do is I will get up, I will find the nearest toilet, which usually is at my private residence. If I'm out in public, sometimes it can get a little hairy, and I mean that literally in men's rooms sometimes. I then enter the facility with a toilet, I then relieve myself, and then I wash my hands. Specifically, I wash my hands for about 25 seconds. I do this by singing the alphabet twice. And then I shake my hands off 15 times and then use a single paper towel folded over to dry them perfectly, according to the TED Talk, How to Dry Your Hands. Again, I can't generalize that this is how all transgender people pee, but that's how I do it. Let's try is. Is trans fat good for you? No, it's not. And we should ban it. Is transgender surgery covered by insurance? Sometimes. More and more in the United States, health insurance is covering various transgender procedures, anything from mental health services to getting hormones to certain surgeries. I know in New York City, the Affordable Health Care Act, so health insurance through the Marketplace or Obamacare, is supposed to cover gender-affirming medical care. However, just because it's supposed to doesn't mean you can always get through all the red tape. And when insurance covers something, that doesn't mean that it's free. You're still gonna have your deductible, you're still gonna have co-pays. Is transgender in the DSM? So the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. I think it's done by the American Psychology Association, the APA. Every couple of years they come up with a new edition of it, and basically when things are in the DSM, that means that based on certain criteria, you can be diagnosed with certain things like depression or bipolar disorder. And if you get that diagnosis, then through your insurance, you are eligible for certain healthcare. Gender dysphoria is in the latest edition of the DSM, which means that currently in many cities and states across the US, you have to have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria in order to be eligible for certain gender-affirming procedures or to have your insurance cover those procedures. There's a lot of debate about whether or not it should be in the DSM, and this kind of revolves around whether being trans should be considered a mental health condition, or if it's a physical condition, or if it's just a thing that you are. Some people will say it's good to have it in the DSM because that's how we can get these medical procedures covered by insurance. Other people will say that it actually makes more gatekeeping. That is to say, you have to go through more and more hoops to be able to be allowed to get the hormones or the procedures that you need. So it's a touchy subject. It's a tricky one. All right, let's just run through some of these quick. Let's do some lightning round ones. Is transgender a noun? No, it's an adjective. Is transgender natural? Yes. Been occurring for centuries. I think it occurs in other animals. Totally natural. Is transgender hereditary? Don't know the answer to this one, but maybe? Kind of seems like perhaps there's something going on. We really don't know the science behind why and how being trans happens, just like we don't really know the science behind why being gay or having any other kind of sexual fluidity happens. It just does because it's a natural thing, just a natural part of life that over the centuries we decided wasn't natural. We had to put all these labels on things, and so now we all have identity crises and have to figure out another meaning of why we are who we are. I said this was gonna be a lightning round. Is transgender non-binary? So they are not synonymous. Many non-binary people do identify under the transgender umbrella, but not all of them, and not all transgender people are non-binary. Being non-binary means that you do not identify in either the male or female binary of the two classic genders. Is transgender a phase? No. I mean, it could be, but like, even if it is, you should still respect what people want to do. So like, you know, sometimes for some people, but generally no, not really a phase. Is transgender a choice? No, that one definitely not. Is transgenderism a word? Yes, technically kind of outdated. It's one of those older medical terms that is still a useful piece of vocabulary and identity for some people, but is kind of becoming expired for the upcoming generations. And can be problematic sometimes. So if you do not identify with that term yourself after lots of research and self-reflection, if you are, for example, a cisgender person, don't use that word. Cool. Alright, I think that's about enough of that. Thank you for coming along on that little adventure with me. I hope you either learned something or got a laugh from it. If you want to see more videos like this, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment, share it with your friends. Thanks for doing all the things. Specifically in the comments today, I want you to Google is and then insert your name and see what populates. So for me, it would be, is Jackson Bird, actually, let's look. Is Jackson Bird injured? So there's an Australian cricket player with the same name as me. So in the comments, I want you to leave what the auto population is of your name or someone who shares your name. So leave that down in the comments so we can continue our Google fun. Before I go, I want to let you know that my podcast Transmission is officially returning on March 31st. Transgender Day of Visibility is coming back for its second season. Really excited about it. I hope you are too. If you are not already subscribed, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can follow me at Jack is Not a Bird on Twitter or Instagram, or really basically anywhere on the internet at Jack is Not a Bird. But that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.